captains of the L.A. Raiders both go back to their respective teams. Well, locally, reaction to what has gone on about what you would expect. There wasn't any room for optimism. At 5 p.m., I asked Ricky Hundley what he expected to do at a team meeting tomorrow, with rumors flying that a team vote to stay or go back would be on the agenda. For Dan Reeves, it'll be business as unusual.
We're going to examine the issues, and we're going to look at the upside and downside of all the issues. You can't just jump into a situation because Jack Donovan gets on TV and says that, you know, we'll take you back. You have to look at what he's really saying, and if you examine it and see where you're in a situation where you'll be locked into something forever, I don't think anybody wants to be in that situation.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like it's something that's going to be resolved in the next couple of days. So it looks like, again, we've got to approach it from the standpoint that we will be playing the games with the replacement players and any of the players that decide to come on in that are on strike right now.
And you know, there are some other things that are a lot more serious in nature than a player's strike or things that go along with that line, all the bickering and things that have gone back and forth, because off the field, Steve Watson, who crossed the picket line just 2 weeks ago, is doing okay following last night's serious rib injury suffered against the L.A. Raiders. He was nailed by defensive back Rod Hill on this play, a pass reception from Ken Karcher. He suffered 6 broken ribs. He will be hospitalized from 2 to 4 more days. He'll miss a maximum of 4 weeks and a minimum of make that a minimum of 4 weeks and a maximum of 6. 2 other men who crossed over feel for their friend.
That's what I hate about this game is the type of injury that players do receive, and I think maybe he, you know, if he can just stay off it for about 6-8 weeks, something like that, he'd come back, and it was a big factor for us there at first, and you can tell we needed it.
We decided to come in and play. We knew the risk of being injured, and it's just a sad situation that he had to be injured tonight. But I know Steve's resolve, and he'll fight back from it.
He certainly will. Get better, Steve, up there in St. Luke's Hospital. One other NFL note
in the NFL as players went back to work, and we'll show you some of that.
The bottom line is that the players are back. They won't be playing this week. They'll be playing next week.
And they'll work out whatever problems they have with the owners sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future, yeah. Off season.
Yeah. It was the strangest scene I've seen in a long time at Bronco headquarters today, with the players returning, all the media hanging around. It was
like Cragen didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it was all out in the parking lot. And even Pat Bowlen, the owner, came out to talk to the media in the parking lot. Strange day. The NFL strike, Ernie, comes to a rather confusing end today with no real settlement, but with players going back to work wondering when they would play again. The Broncos may have a jump on the rest of the league, being organized enough to start practices immediately. Tonight at Mile High Stadium, the regular Broncos hold their first official practice in nearly a month. But they will not play Sunday in Kansas City. Their return to the NFL wars will come a week from Sunday in Minnesota against the Vikings. Head coach Dan Reeves is relieved the strike is over, but he now has 2 major tasks before him.
But our #1 priority right now is to get our replacement team ready to play against Kansas City, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be responsible for us being 3-1-1 or 2-2-1. So we've got a job to do with them, and then we've got to try to get our veteran guys ready to compete next week.
The Broncos are the first team to go back to work this morning, even before this afternoon's announcement from Union Chief Gene Upshaw.
It's unfair to the players to continue making great sacrifices that they have made in the face of blatant display of monopoly powers. The player reps, therefore, voted today to send the players back to work.
The union also files an antitrust suit against the owners this afternoon in a Minneapolis court. But Bronco owner Pat Bowlen feels his players' decision to return to work is a simple one.
The way I understand it is they want to come back and play football. It's pretty simple. I mean, the media can try to make everything they want out of the conditions and this and that. These are guys who want to play football. They're football players.
It remains to be seen how this all turns out and how the Broncos regroup as a team. But a good sign is that player rep Ricky Hundley can find some humor in today's developments.
I was telling Carl today, you know, we're to compare hate mail.
Well, it will be interesting. Now, look for the league to start coming out with some new rules as we go along here on how the regular players will be integrated with the replacement players over the next few days as the NFL tries to sort out this confusing mess.
Accused the owners of refusing to bargain in good faith, and so...
It's unfair to the players to continue making great sacrifices that they have made in the face of blatant display of monopoly powers. The player reps, therefore, voted today to send the players back to work.
And the migration then started in droves in cities around the league. The players were going back to work after missing nearly a quarter of their annual salary. But while the doors were open, the paymaster was missing.
We offered our services to play Sunday, but they said they wouldn't pay us to play, so basically that's a lockout, and now we're back out again.
We're delighted that they chose to come in and would like to play, but as it stands right now, we cannot pay them, and we can't play them this week.
Management's response was identical throughout the league. The players had come back, but too late. They had missed Wednesday's deadline for reporting, and so will neither play nor be paid for the week. When the players heard the news, hundreds turned around and walked out again, but will report again and play the following week. Meanwhile, the tottering union was busy playing a final card.
The player reps also decided to file an antitrust suit, and we have filed that suit in Minneapolis this afternoon. The court will decide the issues before it.
The antitrust suit claims NFL owners conspired to impose a compensation system for free agency that unfairly limits bidding by other clubs for players who become free agents. The union also alleges the league's college draft, its contracts, and player restraints violate federal antitrust laws. So games will go on this weekend with replacement players and those who crossed picket lines before Wednesday. The non-union players will then be playing in their third game and thus be eligible for playoff money, whether they're still with the team at season's end. Meanwhile, the strike is over, but the issues remain unresolved, apparently leaving the players' union in tatters, the owners with a stunning victory, and the delicate connective tissue of team unity in question. NFL management passed out a brief statement saying they're delighted to have the players back, but will have no comment on the lawsuit until they've read the details. Beside the lack of meaningful resolutions on any issues, the sides can't even agree yet on how long to work under the previous labor contract. Upshaw said management's proposal for a contract extension into June is only a plot to keep the old agreement in place 2 extra years. An NFL labor deal in effect after February 1st of any year remains in place for the next season. And that's why the union is holding out for a February deadline. But the union hasn't gotten much of anything it's asked for lately, Fred.
So mercifully, it ends for now. The courtroom battle has yet begun to rage, but the football fan has other priorities. The main thing for you is the knowledge that come next weekend, the NFL you pay good money to watch will tee it up and play football, the real thing.
There is work to be done. In Denver, the equipment was shipped back to Mile High Stadium for the Broncos to use in an afternoon practice. The Broncos did so, as did the San Francisco 49ers, and the Kansas City Chiefs, and several other clubs. They won't play until next Sunday. They won't get a paycheck before Monday. But to a man, they are happy to be carrying a football rather than a picket sign once more.
Happily, luckily, I'm ecstatic, I guess. I can't even talk anymore. The strike is over.
It's a good feeling, but we're not back in here yet.
As for the strike effort, Gene Upshaw said it was all worth it. But do the men who missed the work feel the same?
I stood up for something that I believe in, and there's still a lot of things out there that I do still believe in, and would fight for. But I felt that in the best interest of our team, you know, we had to get out before the bottom fell out.
One thing I accomplished is losing a lot of savings and losing a lot of money. It was disappointing. But the only thing I can say that came out of it were a lot of good feelings for some of the teammates that, you know, put their bucks on the line and stuck with it.
And the men who will, after Monday night, become the subject of sports trivia questions for the most part, the replacement players. This weekend's action will be their last in NFL colors, except for a chosen few. And they want to go out with a bang.
In a way, it's a relief. I think we can start making a little more permanent plans for ourselves now, and I think we'll be just as fired up as we were last week, if not more so.
Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be like, you know, we go out, we win the game, and we turn it over to those guys. You know, like, you know, we're 2-1, you know, on our record, and we got y'all on top in the division.
Which brings us to the subject of reunion. Will there be animosity between those who held the line and those 200 or so who crossed before the Wednesday deadline.
Showing animosity toward any of the players that crossed prior to us coming in as a group, I don't think that's going to accomplish much.
You got to respect those guys for what they did. Not to say anything against the guys that went in, because that took a lot of guts on their part too, to make their personal decisions. So, you know, I can respect their decision, but you know, it was good to see the guys stick together, at least the ones that did, for as long as they did. I'm just disappointed. I can see how General Custer must have felt.
Finally, the player representatives. These men practiced with their striking teammates, spent countless hours in the air, on telephones, in meetings, in front of microphones. They are tired and, frankly, a little bit disappointed that their fight did not get the distance.
Looking forward to getting back on the field.
Not as much as I would have in the past. I think my excitement for the game and my belief in the game has been tarnished and bruised, and probably bruised forever.
Now, what about you, paying customer? What do you think about having the fellows back doing what they do best? We asked you, and you said this.
You know, you figured it was coming, because there was a lot of talk going on. It was getting close, and there was a meeting, and I kind of figured.
I was filled with joy. I've been kind of tired of watching these scab players come and play, and I'm ready for the first stringers to come back.
Great. I feel just like I did when they won the championship. Real good. Real good.
By the way, veteran players returning will get no salary until Monday, as we pointed out. They will receive training camp per diem, which is $750 a week for the veterans, $500 for the rookies, and all the guys will get $38 a day to spend for each.
See Colorado's News Channel. This is News Center 4 Late Edition with Linda Farrow, Bob Palmer, Larry Green, and Ron Zappolo.
Fair to the players to continue making great sacrifices that they have made in the face of blatant display of monopoly powers. The player reps, therefore, voted today to send the players back to work. The player reps also decided to file an antitrust suit, and we have filed that suit in Minneapolis this afternoon. The court will decide the issues before it.
The NFL players' strike doesn't end so much as it collapses, and the dispute lands in court.
And the Broncos go right back to work with a practice under the lights at Mile High.
Good evening and welcome to News Center 4. The Broncos are back.
They came back this morning as the football strike was crumbling.
Ron Zappolo is here. Ron, no one expected it to end quite like this.
No, a rather bizarre ending to an odyssey that lasted some 24 days, Bob. The strike is now over. The players today went back to work without an agreement. As you heard Gene Upshaw say, the union has filed an antitrust lawsuit against the owners, and that's the situation. But, as Bob said, the end of the strike started in bizarre fashion early this morning. Les Shapiro has that story.
It didn't take long for the regular Broncos to report back to work. By 11:30, the parking lot at their practice facility was filling up. They stayed around their cars talking among themselves because they really didn't know what was happening. All they knew was Ricky Hundley told them to go back to work. And then Hundley showed up. He clued in his teammates as to what was going on. Then he went off with owner Pat Bowlen. Meantime, that parking lot was full of smiling faces. There was one problem, though. The regular Broncos couldn't go into their own locker room. The replacement Broncos were still there. Some of them even stood in the doorway, not knowing what to make of all this. But all of them still represent the Denver Broncos. Even that didn't bother some of the regulars in the parking lot.
I'm not going to hold any grudges against them.
There are many mixed feelings here. On one side, there's linebacker Jim Ryan. He crossed the picket line 2 weeks ago. But when he heard his other teammates were coming back today to work, he went out into the parking lot to greet them.
I'm hoping that we just, everybody just has the attitude that we're just getting back and we're just so sick and tired of it that the differences that we had before, as the strike was going on, just sort of fade away and just where we start focusing on just playing ball.
Les Shapiro, News Center 4 Sports.
Two very satisfied men tonight, the owner of the Broncos, Pat Bowlen, and their head coach, Dan Reeves. They talked earlier tonight with Les Shapiro.
Since the lawsuit's been filed, since Upshaw has told the players to come back today and all the rest of these things, I don't know where I stand any longer. I had told the players that I would pay them last week if they came back, and now I've sort of lost control of the situation.
You know, right now my major concern is to try to get our team ready to play Sunday, and and hopefully try to work toward getting our veteran players in shape and in condition and ready to compete next week.
Dan Reeves, with the Broncos back, the fans are back as well in rare form. Earlier today, Kathy Walsh met up with some Bronco maniacs at Mile High Stadium.
Broncos are #1, and I'm glad they're back where they belong.
Sentiment heard round the stadium. A welcome home handshake. Fans broke out the Bronco orange at Mile High to celebrate the return of their team. What do you do to a Bronco unique? Only a few dozen showed up for an impromptu pep rally, but that didn't dampen the spirits of the diehards. The barrel man is ready to roll, and he says it's about time.
I'm glad to see the Broncos back. I just wish that this thing had been resolved so we wouldn't have had to have a strike.
You ready to let bygones be bygones?
You have to. Strike situations have been through them before, and when it's all over with, it's over with, you know?
Carroll and Buford Selby have had season tickets since 1971. They, too, are forgiving fans.
I think in 2 or 3 weeks, everything will be forgotten. We'll be back on track.
Sick of the strike, Bronco maniacs are now setting their sights on success. They see only one thing in the Broncos' future: Super Bowl. Kathy Walsh, News Center 4.
The striking Broncos, by the way, Bob, did work out at the stadium tonight, and we'll have that later.
Got in their first practice. Am I wrong, or was there a great deal more stress and emotion in this strike than in the one in '82?
I think you're absolutely right. Basically, because in '82, people may forget, for 57 days they were on strike, but the league was dark. There were no games. Now you had replacement games, replacement players, picket lines, things they never had in '82.
The players never really had an option to go back.
There wasn't
all this.
This was a totally different situation. So I think in '82, there weren't really any wounds to heal. Where now in '87, that's something that all the teams are going to have to address.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Made a collect call. They knew this day would come when their immediate football fate would be decided, but that didn't make it any easier. Yet they are consoled by the knowledge that they will play one more game.
We're going to go out and win the game because we got a lot of pride involved in it, but we are tight, and this helps us prepare for the game. I don't worry about it. I just go out here and play, and when time comes to worry about whether I have to go home or stay here or go through another training camp, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
You know, we knew it was going to be over sometime. In a way, I'm sort of happy because I was getting sick of living life day to day, and at least I know now, you know, what to expect. I know I got one more game at least. I'm just going to play the best I can.
The feeling here is simply one of resignation to the fate that they had expected anyway. There are no real slumped shoulders to be seen. In fact, through it all, a sense of humor, gallows humor perhaps, has emerged as the replacements prepare to give way to the regulars.
We want y'all, you so-called Broncos. We want you. Winner take all, not 3 out of 5. The first one win, we take it all. Y'all be the replacement team.
Perhaps their new motto should be, have fun, we'll travel. From Bronco headquarters, John Keating, 7 Sports.
It appears the players lost this round badly as they lost 3 weeks of pay, still did not have a contract. No question the players were anxious to get back to work, but the owners weren't that anxious for them to return this week, opting to go with the alternate players for one more week. Any players that report, however, will get per diem, as I said earlier, and meal money. And Union Chief Gene Upshaw said they may have lost the battle, but they haven't lost the war.
It's unfair to the players.
Ball team, yeah. I don't think there's going to be any problem with that. We're also happy to be back playing football. That, you know, we can forget anything. You know, I don't know. Hopefully the fans won't have any problem with what's gone on, but I would expect a few will. And
Carl Mecklenburg.
Trump card. I think they can win the case, and the reason they filed the federal antitrust suit against the owners of Minneapolis was back in 1982. That's where they won the decision in the Rozelle ruling, in which he can compensate teams if a player leaves and goes to another team. There's only been 1 in 10 years. Right. And they feel they get another favorable ruling in federal court, and that's the one thing they've got against the owners to force them to bargain the way they want them to bargain.
It'll be interesting to see if they can make it work that way.
That's right. I mentioned players weren't being paid. They are not getting their salaries. They are getting a per diem, which comes out to about $100 a day, which if you're making $62,000 a game like John Elway, isn't a lot of money.
That won't even buy a pair of shoes.
That's right. Well, if the strike was a battle for control of the National Football League, the owners have won. The 24-day strike ended today when players returned to their teams, and the union filed a federal antitrust suit in Minneapolis challenging the college player draft and the reserve system that binds a player to one team. Now, Bronco players gathered at the International Athletic Club this morning. Meanwhile, player reps Ricky Hundley and Carl Mecklenburg were on the phone to union headquarters and got the word to go in. Players started arriving shortly before noon and gathered to talk in various groups. They had stayed out 3.5 weeks and really gained nothing.
I stood up for something that I believe in, and it's still a lot of things out there that I do still believe in and would fight for. But I felt that in the best interest of our team, we had to get out before the bottom fell out.
And inside, meanwhile, the alternate players were working out, knowing that for the most, their NFL career probably would end on Sunday. They had lost the first game, but won big against the Raiders on Monday night, and they were a bit philosophical.
In a way, it's a relief, and I think we can start making a little more permanent plans for ourselves now, and I think we'll be just as fired up as we were last week, if not more so.
It's going to be fun. We're going to be like, we go out, we win the game, and we turn it over to those guys. We're 2-1, on our record, and we got y'all on top in the division.
Several veterans broke with their teammates and crossed the line during the strike, and for some of the players, this will be tough to forget.
We made a decision. I think that was the thing that hurt most, is not sitting back and realizing that we're going to do it as a team and, make the sacrifices either way.
So the alternate players will get one more shot on Sunday afternoon. Now for the regular Broncos, their first game will not be until a week from Sunday against Minnesota on the road, but Dan Reeves had them on the practice field tonight, and our Kathy Chin was there.
As the sun went down, the lights turned up. The welcome mat came out, and some familiar faces were ready for work. It's been 3 weeks since the Broncos went out on strike. The coaches were prepared for the back-to-work workouts. Apparently, so were the players.
Well, I had no idea that they would be in as good a shape as they're in. And, of course, tomorrow they'll be a little bit sore, and I'm sure they won't look as quick or as fast as they look tonight. But it does show me that they have been working out.
I think the adrenaline was pumping real fast, so we are a little bit tired, but we're just looking forward to getting back out there and playing.
But all is not well in Bronco land. There remains some tension between teammates.
You could have kept the air with the night tonight. It was something that I think the more we're together on the football field and with the coaches, I think it'll thin out more and more each day.
For all intents and purposes, the strike is over, and the regular players are eagerly looking ahead towards the Minnesota Vikings. Kathy Chin, 9 Sports.
And number 4.